built around. We can light a match and burn it down. Let me hold your hands and dance around and round the flames in front of us. Dust to dust.
Driving down the road on the way home from a meeting with friends, and Deb kept asking me if there was something wrong, and I kept saying no, and she persisted, and finally I just looked at her and I said, I don't love you anymore.
I was shocked. I knew something was wrong. I had no idea it was going to go in that direction. At that time, I thought we were safe. I thought our relationship, our unity between one another, our marriage was strong. And when that happened, it was like, oh my gosh, you know, and all the way home, it was just quiet. When we got home, he revealed to me that he had met someone else at work, and that just, I was crushed. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do other than to get in my car that night and just drive for hours. Came home and tried talking, and his mind was set to leave us.
We started out our marriage like a house on fire. We were going to prove to everybody that we could make this thing work. And then we had a couple kids, and we had different jobs. I was working nights, she was working days, so we kind of passed each other on the highway. And before you know it, we just felt, you know, we didn't know each other anymore. I was at work, met a lady that paid attention to me, and I was asking some questions about what I was going through, and we struck up a relationship. I can remember the day I walked into the court, and the judge knew our family, and the judge asked me 5 times if I really wanted to end this marriage, if there was any chance for reconciliation. I kept saying no, even though it was tearing me up, because I wanted back. But I had done this thing that was so wrong, and I just felt so much guilt, so much shame for doing it, that I felt like I had to proceed. And then when I got remarried, I was in a position where I just didn't know who I was, where I was going, what I was supposed to do, because I wanted my family back.
I always prayed that there could be that one little hope that we could. And when the divorce papers came through the mail, I knew that it was a done deal.
Listen to me. You've been lonely too long. Let me hit the walls you've built around. We can light a match and burn them down. Let me hold your hands and dance around and round the flames in front of us. Dust to dust.
God just started speaking to my heart about forgiving him. And I remember that day so clearly, and I said, are you kidding me? Because to me at that time, I thought saying, will you forgive me, or I forgive him, was saying it was okay, and it was not okay. I
was at a restaurant on a Tuesday night, and one of the girls that worked for me came and said, hey, you have a phone call, it's your ex-wife. And so I went over and picked up the phone, and Deb was calling me under the pretense of talking about our son's graduation. And then there was a long moment, kind of pause, moment of silence, and she says, there's something else I need to talk to you about. She said, God is instructing me to call you and ask you to forgive me for my part in the breakup of our marriage.
And I got off the phone, I just cried, and I said, I remember saying, God, if this is supposed to be a release, why am I crying so hard? And I knew what it was. It was that true release, that I was holding back all that stuff. I was suppressing everything. I really felt like I was really gaining life again.
It just did something in my heart. You know, I always wanted my family back, but because I was, you know, I felt stuck. I felt like there was no way. And it's just something broke on the inside of me, and I knew I had to have that back, but here I was still married. And so a couple of months went by, and my new family and I went to church, and we went home. I cooked a meal, did the dishes, and I went in and sat down in front of the TV and wanted to watch a NASCAR race. And my wife at that time walked in, she shuts the TV off. She stands in front of the TV and looks at me and she says, I don't know what's going on, but I don't want to be married anymore. Casey was, our daughter Casey was Miss Iowa teen for a year, and she was supposed to give up her crown, and for her final talent, she had come to me and asked me if she could borrow some money because she wanted to do a tap and jazz routine. And so I loaned it to her. Well, it came time for her to do a tap and jazz routine. She came out on the stage, and the MC of the pageant handed her a microphone. And she walked over to where I was sitting in the front row, and she said, Daddy, she said, I know I told you that I was going to do a tap and jazz, but this is for you for coming back into our lives. And she did a ballet to Butterfly Kisses. And after it was over with, the MC of the pageant, I could look over and see him just crying his eyes out. He invited our whole family up onto the stage. And we just had a moment where we hugged each other and we asked each other to forgive each other. And that was our deciding process that night to say that it was time. We wanted to get this marriage back. And so a couple months later, in June 6th of 1998, we were remarried. Yeah, this is our story. You know, we don't know if it'll work the same for everybody. We don't expect it to, but we just know that with God, there's always hope. We know that He's got good things for us. And it doesn't matter if it's remarrying your original spouse or whatever. Stay single the rest of your life, but stay plugged into God because He's always got what's best for you.
What a great story. What a great illustration of grace.